Hello and welcome. Today I thought it would be fun to make a cute fall themed card with this little Warms My Heart stamp set. This is from the Stampin' Up! Mini Catalog September through December 2024. It is a standalone set or an image only set, meaning there are no dies that coordinate with it. There's these 4 cute little images of these ladies that can be anything from fall to winter to Christmas, and then a few nice kind of scripty sayings to go along with it. Today I'm going to be using this girl here that's holding the pumpkins and the little sentiment that says, "Hey pumpkin." So I have our pieces pretty much ready to go because I really want to focus more on some alcohol ink coloring today. I'm going to be coloring this gal here with some alcohol markers, and I didn't want to focus too much time on the card base itself. So I do have some Lost Lagoon. I've run it through the embossing machine with the Forever Plaid 3D embossing folder, and I'm going to just adhere this straight onto my basic beige card base. This card base is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5.5 inches. So 4 1/4 by 5.5 is our finished size. And then on top of that, I'm going to be layering, it's drying right now, but I have a piece of crumb cake that I have cut. This is, I believe, 2.5 by 3.5, and then I splattered it with some the Dina Wakley Media Gloss Spray in Ancient. It's kind of a, I don't know, it's kind of like an antique gold, has a little bit of shimmer to it. I shake the bottle, take the lid off, and then splatter what's on the tube onto my my cardstock. And I kind of went more than I normally would. It looks a little, kind of went overboard with the splatters, but the reason for that is that most of it's actually going to be covered up by our main image. I just wanted to add a little bit of interest and texture to this crumb cake piece. So that's going to go on top of there. It is still drying, so I'm going to set that to the side. I'm going to stamp our main image onto this little piece of white cardstock. This is 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. And we'll do that now. I'm going to be using Memento Tuxedo Black ink because that does work well for alcohol marker coloring. You have to remember when you're stamping an image and coloring it, the ink from the stamp needs to be opposite, basically, of the ink that you're coloring with. So this is a water-based ink and alcohol markers. If I was using regular markers, like water-based markers, you would want to use an alcohol-based ink, so like a StazOn or Versamark, something like that. Okay, so it's just stamping our main image onto this piece of white cardstock. Get our ink out of the way. And then the other thing I'm going to do while I'm stamping is I have a tiny little piece. I think this is 3/4 of an inch tall. I did not measure the length because we're going to be trimming it down. This is basic beige, so it matches the base of our card. And then I have some early espresso ink, and then our little "Hey Pumpkin" sentiment. And I'm just going to stamp that. Try to ink that up real well. And it does not have to be perfectly straight because I am going to be trimming this down. You'll see what I'm going to do kind of toward the end. There's our sentiment. We'll get this out of the way, and now we'll start our coloring with those alcohol markers. Now, of course, you could color this any way you want. You could use colored pencils. You can use just regular water-based markers. Again, I'm going to be using the Stampin' Blends. These are the Stampin' Up's alcohol markers. They come in sets of 2, so it'll be a light version and a dark version of the same color. So for instance, this is light balmy blue, and then there's a dark balmy blue that goes along with it. And I just want to show really quick, I've kind of made myself a little little key or a swatch, kind of a little swatch thing of all the different colors. And this makes it nice for me when I sit down to color and say I want to make her overalls look denim. I can kind of look through the colors that I have and see, oh, Misty Moonlight is a nice kind of a denim color if I wanted to just do a solid color. Now I like to use at least a light color and a darker color with it to give some depth and dimension. So I actually today am going to start with the balmy blue. And then I'm going to go with Night of Navy, which is actually at the top of this other one. Gonna go with the dark Night of Navy because that's a little bit of a brighter color than this Misty Moonlight. Misty Moonlight's a little more of a kind of a grayish blue, and I want to try to keep the colors just a little bit brighter. So I decided to use this light balmy blue and the dark Night of Navy for her jeans, and I'll show you that as we go. But I don't know if this would help anybody. This is very just quick and easy. I just took chunks of white cardstock and colored the light and dark version and wrote off to the side what they are. So I'm very visual, so for me to be able to glance and see what are these going to look like once they're on the cardstock and dry, that has been really helpful for me. And then just kind of another tip is when you're starting to do your coloring, if you're kind of newer to it, or even, you know, I've been doing alcohol marker coloring for a while, I still don't necessarily know how all the colors are going to look together. So I will stamp a whole bunch of this image and give myself the chance to kind of play. And, you know, if I'm not happy with one, I can move on to the next little image and do it a little bit different and see if I like that better. And then it's nice, you can write notes, you know, if you want to kind of remember what you did for the next time. So I'm starting with light balmy blue. Let's do her little overalls first. And I like using both ends. There is both a brush end and a nib end. You can see the size of the thickness of this little line on the body of the marker. That tells you which end is which. Otherwise, you know, you could be easily mixing up the two because they look exactly the same just as far as the lid goes. So when I'm doing a larger area, I will use the brush end, but I like the nib end for kind of smaller detailed things. So you can just kind of quickly go right over where her pants are at. And up on the little suspenders and the top part. Now you can get as detailed or as non-detailed as you want. You know, you could just stop here and leave them just one color of blue. These, I always say, there's no right or wrong. There's no, you know, crafting police that are gonna come along and tell you did it wrong. So, you know, if you're intimidated by images like this because it's gonna mean you have to color them, or, you know, if you don't want to leave them just black and white, you're gonna have to color them. Try not to be intimidated. Think you know, within what you enjoy doing. You know, if you like to just do kind of one quick color and be done, that's totally okay. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Or you can go a lot more detailed. I tend to go kind of somewhere in between. I enjoy the process of the coloring, but I don't want to spend a ton of time doing it. You know, I like to be a little bit quicker about things. So for me, I tend to, you know, I'll color the whole piece in one color and then come along and just maybe along one edge do some darker for that shadow. I am going to use the dark balmy blue just to kind of show you that medium tone, how you can come back in with that and kind of along the edge of your dark shadow kind of scribble to sort of blend the two. Now again, I could spend a lot more time trying to blend, you know, and make it even more realistic, you know, things like that. That's not really what I'm going for. I think it looks cute even when you just kind of quickly go over everything. A lot of times I will finish the section by going back over with my lightest color just to kind of blend everything out. Now, sometimes you're playing and things really start to kind of bleed and get, you know, my first version of this, I used way too much dark and I couldn't see any of the light at all. And I decided, well, I really don't like that. You know, I wanted to be able to see some light. So, you know, that's where the kind of playing comes in. So that's why I really tend to start with the lightest color possible and then add some dark for shadows. And it, you know, kind of makes you think they're like darker blue jeans than they are because you can really see the highlight still. Okay, so moving on to her shirt and her little socks, I am going to use the light Granny Apple Green. So I'm going to just do her little socks that are showing at the top of her boots. And switch to the brush end. Do her sleeve. Okay, and then I'm grabbing my dark old olive. And again, this is basically just for kind of a a line of shadow there, maybe a little here, just a little dab on her socks. And I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not even going to go back over with the light color again to blend. I like that how that is. I am going to go back just right here. I feel like there's a gap where I missed a spot by her arm there. Okay, let's move on to her boots. For that, I am using some of the skin tones. Stampin' Up! Has some that are, like the label on them will be SU 300 or SU 500. Those are skin tones, or they're called like medium blend or medium deep or medium light. It's just kind of nice to have those in your arsenal for, you know, some of the darker coloring that you're going to be doing. So I'm going to use the SU 500 for the entire body of her boot. I thought that was a nice kind of medium brown, lightish to medium. And the sole of her boot, I'm going to do the SU 300. Just a real fine line across there. And then for just a little dab of shadow, I'm doing the dark pecan pie. So I'm going to kind of go along the bottom and the back. And just leave it there. Okay, and then for her skin, I'm going to use the SU 800 and a little bit of the SU 700. So the 800, I'm going to put on first. That goes kind of all over her base color. And with this 700, it's a bit more of a pink, so I'm going to just kind of use this along the bottom of her hand for a shadow, a little on her neck, and then give her a little bit of a rosy cheek. Okay, then I'm going to go back to dark pecan pie and just quickly color in the stems of these pumpkins. I want them to be brown. I know they could be a lighter tan color, but I have my brown there, so we'll use that. Let's see, let's actually color her hair next, and we'll end with the pumpkins. So for her hair, I'm a redhead, so I kind of wanted her to have red hair also. I played around. I wasn't super happy with any of my combinations, but this is what I'm going to land on today. So I'm actually starting with that skin color, the SU 800, and that's going to give me an opportunity to have some highlights in her hair. And then I am going to come in with the SU 500 so that we have a little bit of brown, some brown undertones. So just kind of lightly feather some of that in. And I'm going to grab the, let's see, the Dark Cajun Craze. This is quite a bit more orange, but that's what's going to make it, you know, give it kind of that red color. And I leave spots for, you know, to make them kind of look like highlights. Now it's pretty orangey. I can come back in with, you know, like some dark pecan pie, maybe add a little bit of brown here and there to tone that orange down. Maybe even go over it with like a yellow to kind of, you know, give it more of a blonde tone, but I'm going to just leave it there. And then to do our pumpkins, the last thing, I'm going to use the light and dark pecan, or pumpkin pie, excuse me, of course, the orange. So I'm going to go over the entire pumpkin, all three of them with the light. Give it that good base color. And then with the dark pumpkin pie, I just kind of flick from the bottom, just kind of quick flicks up so that I'm leaving the top light. That gives it that highlight. And I am trying to go more than halfway because I'm also going to come in with my Cajun Craze just to give it a real nice deep orange at the bottom. So this is the Dark Cajun Craze. Again, kind of doing flicking motions up from the bottom. Trying to be careful not to get this in her hand. Okay, and I'm actually going to leave it like that. I've played with this image a few times, and oops, I hope I wasn't completely off the screen, but I've played with this image a few times, and I've gone back over to kind of blend with the light, and then I don't end up really liking it a whole lot. So I'm going to leave my pumpkins just like that, unblended at the end. And there is my little girl in her cute bib overalls carrying her pumpkins. So let's go ahead and finish assembling this card. I am going to distress the edges of this piece with my scissors. So actually, let me zoom back out so I don't go completely off the edge. Okay, so I just open my scissors and run it along the edge. It kind of frays or distresses that cardstock. Makes a little bit of a mess, so you know, just know that you'll have to brush that into the garbage when you're done, but it just adds some nice texture. Okay, and now that our crumb cake piece is dry, I'm also going to distress the edges of this. Okay, and then I said at the beginning that I was going to be kind of trimming apart our sentiment. So what I'm going to do is cut kind of close to the words on both ends. I do want to trim the top to make this a little shorter. I'm going to not cut the bottom. I think that that's fine. And then I'm going to cut between them. I'm going to leave the comma with the hey and just kind of cut right between them so that I can then have them be separate words on the front of the card. Okay, let's finish assembling here. I've already put that Lost Lagoon embossed piece on the front. And I think I'm going to actually just go straight to the card with this. Actually, all of it's going to be taped right on other than the sentiment. I will pop that up. So I'm using my Stampin' Seal tape runner today. Okay, and then I want these layers to be at a little bit of an angle, just for, you know, kind of some fun. It adds a little interest to the card. Layer those two together. I'm going to use just one little dimensional on the back of each of these sentiment pieces to pop them up. We'll do pumpkin there and hay right there. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add some of these classic matte dots. These are, you get 144 of them. It's white, vanilla, I think basic gray, and then black. And I really like these. These are actually, as I am recording these, they're still available. They're on clearance right now on the website for, I don't know, like $2.80 or something like that. They're a really great deal for these. So if you like these, I highly suggest go and grab them up while they're still available. I like these because they're just so versatile. They go with everything. So I'm going to add just a few of the little black dots, just for, again, some added interest. And there is our cute little fall-themed Hey Pumpkin card. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you joining me today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.